She was just a little girl, running through the streets with tears in her eyes, but when she begged the police to follow her home, no one was prepared for what they would find. What happened next? You won't believe it. It was a quiet afternoon in a small suburban neighborhood when Officer Daniels noticed a little girl running toward him. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and her small hands waved in desperation. She was no more than 7 years old, wearing a faded pink dress and mismatched shoes. The officer knelt down as she stopped in front of him, barely able to speak through her sobs. "Please, please follow me home," she cried, her voice trembling with urgency. "Something bad happened. My mommy. She won't wake up." Without hesitation, Officer Daniels called for backup and followed her down the narrow street. His instincts told him this was more than just a child's panic. It felt serious. Neighbors peeked out of their windows, curious about the commotion. But no one had seen the little girl running or knew where she came from. The girl led Officer Daniels to an old, run-down house at the end of the block. Its windows were covered with curtains made from bedsheets, and the front door hung loosely on one hinge. The yard was overgrown, filled with toys and broken furniture scattered around. She pushed open the door with her tiny hands, and the smell of mold and stale air hit them both. Inside, the place was dimly lit with only one light bulb flickering in the hallway. "She's in the bedroom," the girl whispered, gripping the officer's hand tightly. He gently stepped in, heart pounding, unsure of what he would find. As he entered the room, he saw a woman lying still on a thin mattress on the floor. Her skin looked pale, and she wasn't moving, her arms wrapped loosely around a photo. The officer knelt down, checking her pulse with practiced care. To his relief, the woman was alive, but her pulse was weak. She was barely hanging on. He radioed for an ambulance immediately, giving them the address with urgency. The little girl stood silently by the doorway, her big eyes watching everything. "What happened?" he asked her softly, still monitoring her mother's breathing. "She hasn't eaten in 2 days," the girl whispered. "She gave me all the food." Tears welled in the officer's eyes, but he held them back for the child's sake. It was clear the woman had sacrificed everything to keep her daughter fed. Her body was thin, her cheeks sunken, and her clothes hung off her like loose rags. The officer gently lifted her head, talking to her calmly, trying to keep her awake. Outside, the sound of sirens grew louder, hope finally arriving. Paramedics rushed inside and quickly took over, assessing the mother's condition. They confirmed she was severely malnourished and likely suffering from exhaustion and dehydration. The little girl clutched a stuffed rabbit as she watched them load her mother onto a stretcher. "Is she going to be okay?" she asked Officer Daniels, her voice small and shaking. He knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "She's strong," he said, "and she has you. That makes her even stronger." The girl gave a faint nod, wiping away a tear with the back of her hand. Neighbors began to gather outside, whispering among themselves. Most of them admitted they had never seen the girl or her mother before. They had lived quietly, unnoticed, surviving alone behind closed doors. At the hospital, doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize the mother. She was placed on 4 fluids and given nutrition, slowly regaining strength. Meanwhile, the little girl waited in the children's room, her eyes never leaving the hallway door. Officer Daniel stayed with her, bringing snacks, crayons, and even a small teddy bear. "You saved your mom's life today," he told her. "You were very brave." She didn't say much, but her soft smile showed the weight lifting off her heart. A social worker arrived, asking gentle questions to understand their situation. It turned out the mother had lost her job months ago and couldn't afford childcare. They had been surviving on food donations, but even those had run out. The mother had hidden her struggle, afraid of losing her daughter. When the story hit the local news, it spread like wildfire across the community. People were shocked that such a heartbreaking situation had happened right under their noses. Donations started pouring in: money, food, clothes, toys, all for the little girl and her mother. One woman even offered a job to the mother once she recovered. Others volunteered to help renovate their home, offering furniture and repairs. The house that had once looked broken and forgotten now shone with fresh paint and care. The mother, now awake and recovering, was overwhelmed by the support. She broke down in tears as Officer Daniels visited her in the hospital. "I thought no one cared about us," she said. "I was wrong." He simply nodded and smiled. "You weren't invisible. You were just waiting to be seen." The little girl's name was Maya, and soon everyone in the town knew her story. Children from local schools sent her drawings and cards of encouragement. One card read, "You're a hero, Maya," with a picture of a cape and a heart. The mayor invited her to City Hall, presenting her with a medal for bravery. Maya stood shyly on the stage, holding the medal tightly as cameras flashed. She didn't understand all the attention, but she smiled when she saw her mom clapping. The audience gave her a standing ovation, touched by her courage and love. She hadn't saved the day with strength, but with heart, hope, and determination. For many, Maya reminded them of the silent struggles families face every day, and how a child's voice could make the world stop and listen. After her recovery, Maya's mother began rebuilding her life with newfound hope. With a part-time job, a clean home, and community support, she felt stronger than ever. Officer Daniels continued visiting from time to time, bringing books or checking on Maya. He even started reading with her once a week, something they both enjoyed. One day, Maya told him, "I want to be a police officer like you." He chuckled, handing her a toy badge. "Then you better start practicing now." She wore the badge proudly, even pinning it to her backpack. The memory of that day, the fear, the courage, never left her. IT had changed her, made her believe in herself and others. Her voice had brought light into darkness, and it still echoed. Years passed, and Maya grew into a confident and kind young woman. She excelled in school, often volunteering to help younger students. Her teachers praised her leadership and empathy, calling her wise beyond her years. Despite her struggles, she never stopped dreaming, never stopped trying. The town had become her extended family, always cheering her on. People often told her, "You remind us of what really matters." She didn't need reminders. She carried those lessons in her heart. Her story had started in tears, but it was filled with strength and hope. Her bond with her mother only grew deeper through time. Together, they had survived, and together, they continued to shine. Maya's story was featured in a national documentary about child heroes. Viewers across the country were moved to tears by her bravery. Letters and gifts poured in, with strangers calling her an inspiration. One letter read, "Your love saved your mother's life. Never forget how powerful that is." The story also inspired donations to charities that help struggling single parents. Maya had unknowingly sparked a movement of kindness and awareness. Her once-forgotten neighborhood saw increased support and care. No child, they said, should ever go unnoticed or unheard again. Maya's mother watched all of it with gratitude, proud beyond words. She knew her daughter's courage had not only saved her, but changed the world. Now a teenager, Maya visited schools to speak about hope, struggle, and courage. She would say, "Sometimes you have to be brave even when you're scared." Kids listened to her more than any adult. They could feel her truth. She never dramatized her story. She simply told it from the heart. "Being little doesn't mean you're powerless," she'd say. "And love? It gives you the strength to do the impossible." Her voice had grown stronger, but it was still filled with warmth. People called her Little Light, a name that stuck over the years. And every time someone asked how she found the courage, she smiled. "I just wanted to save my mom. That's all I knew." The day Maya joined the police academy, Officer Daniels was there. He watched proudly as the young woman he once comforted took her oath. She was no longer the scared little girl in a pink dress. She was a warrior of hope. With her badge shining and her heart steady, she walked forward into her future. Her mother sat in the front row, tears in her eyes, clapping the loudest. This was more than just a graduation. It was a full circle of faith and love. Maya knew the road had been hard, but it had shaped her into who she was. And as she stepped into her new role, she carried with her a single truth. Sometimes, even the smallest cry for help can lead to the biggest miracles. And sometimes, a child's courage can heal more than just one life. It can heal a whole town.